Our top story this morning, the Supreme Court is taking up the battle over same-sex marriage. The court will consider gay rights cases that ask it to overturn bans in 4 states. It will also decide whether every state must allow same-sex couples to marry.
The justices will hear arguments in the spring. A decision is expected in June. Jan Crawford is in our Washington bureau now with more. Jan, good morning.
Well, good morning. The court has been laying the groundwork for this case for more than a decade with other rulings favorable to gay rights. But for advocates, this is the historic step, what they say could be the civil rights decision of a generation.
The announcement that the court will decide once and for all the issue of same-sex marriage reflects how dramatically the law has changed, beginning in 2003, when the justices struck down laws in nearly a third of the country that made homosexual sex a crime. Today, just 12 years later, 36 states allow lesbians and gays to marry. The justices now will look at states where same-sex marriage remains illegal. An Ohio-based federal appeals court all but forced their hand. It ruled in November that same-sex couples had no constitutional right to marry. This was in direct conflict to other appeals court rulings allowing same-sex marriage. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg late last year signaled the justices would only take up the issue once a lower court upheld a marriage ban.
But when all of the courts of appeals are in agreement, there's no need for us to rush to step in.
Many say the justices have already paved the way for this case when they ruled 2 years ago that the federal government must recognize legal same-sex marriages. Dissenting from that decision, Justice Antonin Scalia said the court had made it easy, inevitable, for lower courts to take the next bold step and strike down state laws that banned same-sex marriage.
But it's not inevitable that the Supreme Court will take that steps, and the stakes are high. If it rules there's no constitutional right to same-sex marriage, that would throw into question marriages that were legalized in many of the states by those lower courts. Anthony?
Jan Crawford in our Washington bureau this morning. Thank you, Jan.